Why he thinks so is a different question, and one would like to discuss it further, but it's a different matter. Why Sri Aurobindo thinks that mankind has reached today a point where yoga has become a necessity for the whole mankind. And that is why the relevance of Veda. If it was not a necessity, and if yoga was not a great book of yoga, if it was only a book of rituals, then the necessity of revisiting Veda would not be necessary. If you want to restore Veda, it is because of this reason. On the one hand, mankind today has reached a point where yoga has become a necessity for the mankind. On the other hand, this great book of Veda has been neglected and has been not truly understood, and yet it contains so much of wisdom and so much of knowledge. If that knowledge is not made available to mankind where it is necessary, it will be a great pity. Such a knowledge exists, and therefore the necessity of restoring Veda to the present day. As a result of this, you read the Supermind. And when you read the Supermind, there is still a further step to be taken. This is where we find the mantras relating to Vishnu in the Veda. Vishnu is not addressed many verses in the Veda. And therefore many people think that Vishnu was a lesser god in the Veda. It is afterwards that Vishnu became much more important. But as Sri Aurobindo points out, the number of verses addressed to a god does not determine his greatness or smallness. You have to see what description you get of Vishnu. Vishnu is described as all-pervading Godhead. His vision, whereas Indra has only 1,000 eyes, Vishnu is the eye spread over the whole sky. That's a description given of Vishnu. Vishnu is the eye spread over the whole sky. This all-pervading consciousness. And there are 3 steps of Vishnu which have been described in the Rig Veda. And the highest step is a step of the supreme reality. So that supramental consciousness, Vishnu consciousness, Vishnu is the comprehending consciousness of the supermind. And it is by Vishnu that you rise step by step, and you rise to the highest step, into the supreme reality. There is the Soma, the real Ananda. You open the gates of the ultimate reality, and that gate is the gate of Ananda. And that gate takes you to what is called, it's a triple seat of the highest. Satchidananda is not a word used in the Veda. It came to be known later on. But Ananda is described, and many other epithets are given. It is of course light and consciousness and being and all that. So, it is the reality which is Anandamaya. And I shall now end with the description of Anandamaya as given in Taittiriya Upanishad, so that we know what is that experience which the Veda ultimately promises. This is the chapter number 10. Of the Taittiriya Upanishad, where Ananda is described. Chapter number 8. It says, through the fear of Him, of the Supreme, the wind blows. Through the fear of Him, the sun rises. Through the fear of Him, Indra and Agni and death hasten in their courses. Behold this exposition of the bliss to which you shall hearken. Let there be a young man, excellent and lovely in his youth, a great student. Let him have fair manners and a most firm heart and great strength of body, and let all his wide earth be full of wealth for his enjoying. That is the measure of bliss of one human being. Now, 100 and 100-fold of the human measure of bliss is the one bliss of men that have become angels in heaven. And this is the bliss of the Veda-wise whose soul the blight of desire touches not. When you go beyond all desire, then the kind of delight you have is of this higher kind. 100 and 100-fold of this measure of angelic bliss is one bliss of gods that are angels in heaven. And this is the bliss of the Veda-wise whose soul the blight of desire touches not. 100 and 100-fold of this measure of divine angelic bliss is one bliss of the Fathers whose world of heaven is their world forever. And this is the bliss of the Veda-wise whose soul the blight of desire touches not. 100 and 100-fold of this measure of bliss of the Fathers whose worlds are forever is one bliss of the gods who are born as gods in heaven. And this is the bliss of the Veda-wise whose soul the blight of desire touches not. 100 and 100-fold of this measure of bliss of the firstborn in heaven is one bliss of the gods of work who are gods, for by the strength of their deeds they depart and are gods in heaven. And this is the bliss of the Veda-wise whose soul the blight of desire touches not. 100 and 100-fold of this measure of bliss of the gods of work is one bliss of the great gods who are gods forever. And this is the bliss of the Veda-wise whose soul the blight of desire touches not. 100 and 100-fold of this measure of divine bliss is one bliss of Indra, the king of heaven. And this is the bliss of the Veda-wise whose soul the blight of desire touches not. 100 and 100-fold of this measure of Indra's bliss is one bliss of Brihaspati, who taught the gods in heaven. And this is the bliss of the Veda-wise whose soul the blight of desire touches not. 100 and 100-fold of this measure of Brihaspati's bliss is one bliss of Prajapati, the Almighty Father. And this is the bliss of the Vedavise, whose soul the blight of desire touches not. 100 and 100-fold of this measure of Prajapati's bliss is one bliss of the Eternal Spirit. And this is the bliss of the Vedavise, whose soul the blight of desire touches not. The Spirit who is here in a man and the Spirit who is there in the Son, supramind, it is one Spirit and there is no other. He who knows this, when he has gone away from this world, passes to this self which is of food. He passes to this self which is of prana. He passes to this self which is of mind. He passes to this self which is of knowledge, supermind. He passes to this self which is of bliss, whereof this is the scripture. Thank you.
पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ईशावास्यम् इदं सर्वं यत्किञ्च जगत्यां जगत् तेन त्यक्तेन भुञ्जीथा मा गृधः कस्य स्विद्धनम् कुर्वन्नेवेह कर्माणि जीजीविषेच्छतं समाः एवं त्वयि नान्यथेतोऽस्ति न कर्म लिप्यते नरे। असुरिया नाम ते लोका अन्धेन तमसावृताः तास्ते प्रेत्याभिगच्छन्ति ये के च आत्महनो जनाः। अनेजदेकं मनसो जवीयो नैनद्देवा आप्नुवन् पूर्वमर्षत् तद्धावतो अन्यानत्येति तिष्ठत् तस्मिन्नपो मातरिश्वा दधाति तदेजति तन्नैजति तद्दूरे तद्वन्तिके तदन्तरस्य सर्वस्य तदु सर्वस्यास्य बाह्यतः यस्तु सर्वाणि भूतानि आत्मन्येवानुपश्यति सर्वभूतेषु च आत्मानं ततो न विजुगुप्सते। यस्मिन् सर्वाणि भूतानि आत्मैवाभूद्विजानतः तत्र को मोहः कः शोकः एकत्वम् अनुपश्यतः सः पर्यगात् शुक्रम्